The entire town laughed when the veiled young woman was put on display at the market. No man would ever choose her, they whispered. Then one quiet rancher stepped forward, looked past the veil, and said 7 words that silenced the whole frontier. "I'll take her if she'll have me." But when her veil finally fell, the shocking truth changed every heart in town forever. Stay until the end because this unforgettable Wild West story proves that true beauty is never seen with the eyes alone. Before we begin, please like this video and subscribe to the channel because every story we share reminds us that kindness always outshines appearances. The frontier market of Red Hollow was louder than usual that autumn morning. Horses stomped in the dusty streets while merchants shouted over one another trying to sell everything from blankets to cattle. Yet no crowd gathered around fresh produce or expensive horses. Instead, every eye was fixed on a lonely wooden platform standing in the center of town. Upon it stood a young woman dressed in faded clothes and covered from head to toe by a worn black veil. She stood perfectly still, her hands folded tightly together, refusing to meet anyone's eyes. Every whisper drifting through the crowd carried the same cruel message. She must be hiding something awful. No decent man would marry her. Look how ashamed she is. The insults fell like stones, but she never answered them. Her name was Clara. Months earlier, a terrible fire had destroyed the stagecoach carrying her family west. She had survived, but flames had left painful scars across one side of her face. Since that day, she had hidden behind a veil not because the scars hurt, but because people's reactions hurt far more. Everywhere she traveled, strangers judged her before hearing a single word she spoke. Employers refused to hire her. Families turned her away. Even children stared with frightened eyes. Eventually, she reached Red Hollow with nothing except a small cloth bag, a Bible, and the hope that somewhere a kind soul still existed. The town council had arranged a gathering where lonely ranchers seeking wives could meet women arriving from the eastern states. One by one, smiling young women found hopeful husbands. Laughter echoed through the marketplaces as couples left together. Clara remained alone on the platform. Every man who approached noticed the dark veil, hesitated, and quietly walked away. Some laughed. Others muttered that they deserved someone prettier. Each rejection deepened the silence surrounding her, until even the wind seemed unwilling to comfort her. Standing near the horse pens was Daniel Harper, a rancher who rarely visited town unless supplies were needed. 42 years old, broad and weathered by years of honest labor, Daniel had earned respect across the frontier not because he was wealthy, but because his word was stronger than any written contract. After losing both parents young, he had built his ranch with his own hands. Loneliness had become his companion, but bitterness never had. While others stared at Clara with suspicion, Daniel watched something different. He noticed how she quietly helped an elderly woman pick up dropped apples without expecting thanks. He saw her gently comfort a frightened little boy who had wandered away from his mother. She never complained, she never begged for sympathy. Even behind the veil, kindness shone brighter than beauty. The auctioneer sighed loudly. "Looks like no one wants this one," he announced carelessly, causing another round of laughter from the crowd. Daniel stepped forward. Dust swirled beneath his boots as every conversation stopped. The rancher looked directly at the veiled woman, not at the cloth covering her face, but into the quiet sadness hidden behind it. "I don't care what's beneath the veil," he said calmly. "I'd rather live beside an honest heart than a beautiful face, hiding cruelty." The marketplace fell completely silent. Clara slowly lifted her eyes toward him, unable to believe anyone had spoken those words. For the first time in many months, hope returned quietly to her heart. Daniel ignored every stare as he helped Clara step down from the platform. The crowd watched in stunned silence before the whispers returned even louder than before. "He's lost his mind. Just wait until he sees what's under that veil. He'll regret this before sunset." Daniel acted as though he hadn't heard a single word. He loaded Clara's small cloth bag into his wagon and held the door open for her. "My ranch is a long ride," he said gently. "You don't have to trust me today. Just know you'll have a warm meal, a safe bed, and no one there will force you to remove your veil." Clara blinked back tears. No one had offered her kindness without demanding something in return. As the wagon rolled away from Red Hollow, neither of them spoke much. Snow-covered mountains stretched across the horizon, while golden fields danced beneath the afternoon breeze. Daniel finally broke the silence. "I lost my wife years ago," he admitted quietly. "Since then I've learned something. People spend too much time looking at faces and too little time looking at hearts." Clara lowered her eyes. "I wasn't always afraid," she whispered. Before the fire, People smiled at me. After the scars they looked at me like I was something broken. Daniel nodded. Scars tell stories, he replied. Only foolish people laugh at someone who survived. Those simple words stayed with Clara all the way to the ranch. Daniel's homestead was peaceful. A sturdy log house stood beside a red barn surrounded by grazing horses and wide open pasture. It wasn't fancy, but it felt safe. Over the following days, Clara quietly helped wherever she could. She cooked hearty meals, swept the porch, mended torn shirts, fed chickens, and even cared for an injured foal that everyone believed wouldn't survive. Daniel noticed something remarkable. Every animal trusted her. The frightened horse calmed whenever Clara spoke softly. The ranch dogs followed her everywhere. Even wild birds landed near the porch while she worked. Slowly the lonely ranch became filled with warmth again. One afternoon Daniel returned from repairing fences and found fresh bread cooling on the windowsill. The cabin smelled of stew and cinnamon. For the first time in years, it truly felt like a home instead of just a house. Meanwhile, word spread through Red Hollow. The townsfolk expected Daniel to come running back after discovering the woman beneath the veil. Instead, weeks passed. He never returned alone. Curiosity finally overcame several neighbors who rode out to the ranch hoping to witness a disaster. Instead, they found laughter. They found healthy livestock. They found flowers blooming around the porch. Most surprising of all, they found Daniel smiling more than anyone had seen in years. Still, one question remained unanswered. Nobody had ever seen Clara's face. Then one cold evening, while they sat beside the fireplace, Clara quietly reached for the edge of her black veil. Her hands trembled. "I should tell you the truth," she whispered. "You already have," Daniel answered. "No, you haven't seen why everyone rejected me." With tears filling her eyes, Clara slowly lifted the veil. Burn scars covered one side of her face. They were impossible to ignore, but they were also proof that she had survived unimaginable tragedy. She closed her eyes, waiting for Daniel to look away like everyone else had. Instead, Daniel smiled. "You've been carrying this burden alone for far too long," he said softly. Then he reached out, gently held her scarred hand, and said the words she had dreamed of hearing ever since the fire. "I still see the same kind woman who helped strangers at the market. The fire touched your face, Clara, but it never touched your heart." For the first time since losing everything, Clara cried tears of healing instead of shame. And outside the cabin window, someone hidden among the trees had witnessed everything. Someone whose arrival would change both of their lives forever. The next morning, the stranger who had watched from the trees rode into Red Hollow and told everyone what he had seen. He spoke of Clara's kindness, Daniel's unwavering respect, and the peaceful home they had built together. Curious and ashamed, several townspeople traveled to the ranch expecting to uncover a secret. Instead, they found Clara feeding orphaned calves, comforting frightened children, and welcoming every visitor with gentle kindness. Her scar had never changed the goodness within her. It had only revealed the cruelty in those who judged too quickly. One by one, the same people who had laughed at the marketplace lowered their heads and apologized. Clara forgave them without anger. "Bitterness would only leave another scar," she said softly. Her grace touched every heart present. Daniel looked at her with quiet pride, knowing he had never chosen her because she was beautiful. He had chosen her because she was good. As winter turned into spring, the lonely ranch became the warmest place in the valley. Travelers found food, neighbors found friendship, and children found laughter beneath its roof. Daniel and Clara married in a small ceremony surrounded by grateful friends. When Clara walked toward him without her veil, she held her head high for the very first time. No one noticed the scar anymore. They only saw the joyful smile she had hidden for so long. Years later, people no longer remembered Clara as the veiled woman. They remembered her as the woman whose kindness changed an entire town. And whenever someone judged another by appearance, Daniel would simply smile and say, "The finest things God ever made are often hidden from careless eyes." If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who believes true beauty comes from character, not appearance. We'll see you in the next unforgettable Wild West story.